Hello, everybody. I am here live with Matthew Rapp to talk about how getting your TEFL certification and the ways that will benefit you, as well as some teaching strategies that Matthew employs in his work. So, Matthew is one of our highest rated teachers on Opta class in 2021. So, that's a huge, huge accomplishment. Congratulations.
Thank you.
So happy to have you here. So, Matthew, where are you located right now?
I am located in Olive Branch, Mississippi, for now.
Very nice, very nice. And tell me, how long have you been teaching for?
I actually started teaching last year. I was a truck driver before that, and I had a slip and fall accident at work, which blew out my back. And I'm not the type of person who can sit around doing nothing, so I had to find something to do. And
Mm-hmm.
so English teaching became the thing for me.
That's incredible. That's such a good place to go. Matthew and I were saying prior to our live here that the English language teaching profession brings in so many different kinds of people, and that's something that's so great about it. So, I wanted to know, how do you get your students? Do you have a profile on a marketplace or like italki, or how do you get them?
So for me personally, I'm a little unorthodox from I'm sure what I imagine everybody else is. I don't use italki, I don't use Cambly or any online marketplaces.
Oh, wow.
The way I met my students was more of an accidental story. Um, I was looking at chat rooms for people who are living abroad, where the places I want to go, and one of the places is Vietnam. And I met a lady in the group chat, and I asked, or we were talking for about 4 months, and then she finally said, "Hey, do you think you could teach English?" Well, I think I could. I'm pretty good with grammar, and my punctuation and spelling is always top notch. I was like, "Why do you ask?" She says, "Well, I have two teenage boys, and I don't really like their tutor. And talking with you for the last few months, I like you, and I think you'd get along great with my boys." I said, "Okay, sure." I said, "I'll give it a shot." And I said, "Give me 1 week though. I need to do some research because I've never done this before. I have to find a platform to teach on. I have to find materials, lesson planning. I've never done that before."
Mm-hmm.
And then literally like in the second day of doing my research, I found off a class and I was like,
No way.
"Oh wow, this is
Amazing.
awesome." Lesson plans, homework assignments, everything's there and done for you already. I was like, "Okay, this is it." So she's like, "Well, I want to pay you for this." And I said, "Well, give me a 2 week trial first because this is my first time doing this. I don't want to feel like I'm taking advantage of you and your money, your finances." So we did a 2 week trial. My older student, Johnny, he's 17, getting ready
Mm-hmm.
to turn 18 next month, actually. And he was already, I'd say he was probably at like an A2, B1 level. He's right there, upper beginner, lower intermediate.
Mm-hmm.
And he had a lot of fluency, but not a lot of correctness. And in the 2 weeks, he made really good progress. His grammar and the way he spoke and the way he formatted his sentences was becoming better. And I saw that and I was like, "Oh, this is awesome." And then his younger brother, Henry, is 15, and
Mm-hmm.
he was extremely shy. Uh, I knew that he understood some English, but he was very hesitant to use it. And in that 2 week period, as his mom put it, he just opened up like a flower and he just started talking left and right
Oh,
nonstop. And so
that's
I was like,
amazing.
yeah, and the feeling that I got from that, I was like, "Oh, this is definitely what I want to be doing."
Oh, that's
So that's
incredible.
when she said, "Okay, well, they like you." She said, "How do you like the job?" I said, "I love it." I said, "I love the boys, and they're very hard workers and they want to learn." I said, "Yeah, let's do this." And so she said, "Okay, I'm going to start paying you. I'm going to tell the other tutor that I don't want to pay her anymore." I said, "Okay." And then I was like, "Well, if I'm going to do this, I probably should do it right, and I need to get my TEFL certification." And that's what led me into doing more research to finding how to get your TEFL. And
Amazing.
there's just so many misleading websites or scam sites out there. It took me about 3 months of research to find
Wow.
where I want to get my
Oh,
education from.
so
Yeah.
how did you find the right organization to get certified with TEFL?
So my plan, I've been going through physical therapy for my injury and everything, but my plan my dream is to be able to travel abroad again and teach, basically to pay my way while I travel. So I knew that I had to have good accreditation, and that was where I started my research. Was, what's the top accredited company out there? I found some blog posts. I found some group chats on Facebook. I joined all of them. I was extremely active in the community. Just picking everybody's brain. Oh yeah, you have your TEFL. Well, what's your accreditation like? Oh, well, you can only use it in Nicaragua, and that's it. Well, not really what I want. And I finally found the International TEFL Academy, ITA, and they are not the top rated one, but they're right up there in like the top 5, I think. They have all the certifications that you could possibly need. It's accepted worldwide. Actually, it's TEQL or TQEL. It's the British certification or accreditation company is who they are accredited with. And so I was like, you know what? I said, they're a little bit more expensive than some of the other people. Yeah, there was a $50 TEFL out there. And I was like, it kind of sounds a little 50. The basic course, I think, was like $14.99. And then I took all their add-on courses as well. So I ended up paying around $2,500 for everything. But I ended up with 5 certificates. I can teach business English. I can teach young learners teaching English online. They taught me how to do lesson plans.
Wow.
The quality of materials that ITA had astounded me. I was blown away. Their professors that teach you are also college professors with PhDs and master's degrees. There actually had one, my grammar instructor, because I took the grammar fundamentals of grammar class, and she was actually one of the founders of ITA, and she had a doctorate. I'm like, yeah, I came to the right place for this.
Wow, so it must have been really empowering and interesting to be able to learn what effective teaching is by being the student, essentially, right? That's really important. And so you said you got several certificates to teach different subjects. Can you tell me what your teaching niche is, and if you have one?
Well, I don't really have a niche yet. Before I was a truck driver, I've actually worn many hats in my life. I've been hotel management. I've been management level for a long time. And I would like to explore the idea of teaching business English in like South Korea, where a lot of their businessmen need to do business with English speaking people, especially with English being the lingua franca, which I learned through off to class. Thank you. I didn't know what that was. I think spending most of my life in customer service and upper management positions, I think I would like to explore teaching business English to adults. And it's hard for me to say because my 2 teenagers are outstanding and or what gave me the love for this. But I know that there's certain proficiency levels between where they are and where a 30-year-old businessman at a bank is. And he might just need touch-ups. I think I would have, if I was going to hammer myself down to a niche, I think it would have to be business English.
That's awesome. And what I talked about with one of our other top teachers is that, and you've exemplified this so perfectly, is that when you like something, that's apt to probably be your niche. And you definitely have a passion for this. And is that something you would recommend for other teachers, that if you have a passion for teaching or service, this is a good route to go? I know you said that feeling with your first student is what motivated you to keep going, right? So
if I'd had a bad experience with those 2 boys at first, I probably would never be sitting here right now. I probably would have said, "No, this just isn't for me," and found something else to do with my now medically retired life. I would say over all the jobs that I've held, I started working when I was 12 years old, like with a W-2. It was crazy. All the jobs that I've held, I believe that everybody deserves to be happy in their job, and I've held some miserable jobs, and you have to sometimes suck that up to get you down the road to where you need to go. I would tell other teachers that if you find something that gives you the joy and the pleasure that you can get, whether it's teaching or whatever, go for it. I would pass up $100,000 a year job here in Mississippi, which is phenomenal, to be able to teach for $30,000 a year because I enjoy doing it that much. I'm tired. I'm done with the high paying jobs where I'm miserable. I would rather have a lower paying job that I just thoroughly enjoy and get so much pleasure and satisfaction from doing.
So important. And
Mhm.
with that being said, for new teachers, how would you recommend they go about finding students? I know you were just sort of in a situation where, oh, you met someone who had some potential students. How do you recommend someone who doesn't have that situation to move forward? How do you think they should find their students?
I know that italki is a very popular platform for finding students. Another concern about that platform that I've heard is that if you're not already one of the top rated teachers on that platform, it's very hard to get the exposure. I would say have a very well professionally designed LinkedIn profile.
Mm.
This comes down to marketing. If you want to market yourself, word of mouth is the best advertising and it's free that you can ever get. People will, if you give exemplary service, they will tell everybody about it. If you give bad service, they will also tell everybody about it. I would say, so a professional LinkedIn profile, I would join italki, Candly, VIP Kids, any of those platforms that you can, only to get you started. I don't know, because I haven't joined them personally, I don't know how it is long term, but just get yourself out there. You have
Yeah.
to have a good webcam, which is a very important thing,
Oh
especially
yeah,
doing
your
this.
equipment. This is something
Yeah,
seldom
yeah.
talked about.
I mean,
Equipment is so important.
I have a $20 Logitech webcam that gives me great picture and audio, and I have a $10 ring light. That's all you need. It's not
Cool.
expensive to start.
Do you use any props in your classroom with your students by any chance?
So I do use a whiteboard. I bought this on Amazon just for a few bucks. It's very easy to use. I use that especially when we're doing pronunciations versus spelling.
Mm-hmm.
Brew sounds like THREW. Well, it can be, but it can also be THRUGH.
Yeah.
In English language, we have so many conundrums that it's sometimes easier for the students to see, this is how you spell it, but this is how you say it.
Totally.
I found
And
that really helps.
pardon me. So, what's your approach to using off to class then? So you have this. It seems like you build a really nice rapport with your students. You use your
Yeah.
props. You have your awesome tech. How do you incorporate using off to class in your classroom?
So with off the class, actually, I bought the whiteboard when I first started doing this, and I use the whiteboard in off the class now. I rarely ever use my whiteboard. Um, when I first started off the class, I watched a lot of the videos that Chris put up, and I joined the
Nice.
Facebook group and asked questions, and I was very active for a while. I haven't been active as much lately because I've been really busy at home. But I started with the placement test, the placement exam, which is just the grammar one because I was still at that point, I was a free member with off the class. And when I saw the quality of feedback that you get from that, I mean, it even creates a lesson plan for you and everything. So I started just following the lesson plan. As we went on, I was seeing Johnny, who is a high A2, low B1, we would go through the lesson plan that off the class was recommending, but I was noticing in some lessons as we would skip over some that off the class, the placement test that he didn't need, I was noticing that he was missing certain key elements to his English education. So I said, you know what? We're going to try something new, boys. And they're like, okay, what's that, Mr. Rapp? I said, we're going to just launch from the beginning and we're going to go down lesson by lesson. I said, now I know some of this is going to be easy for you, and that's fine. But even when it's easy, I want you to still work hard as if it were not easy for you, because that will help it stay in your brain better. And I mean, we did parts of the body. I did not do the ABCs and 1, 2, 3s with them. We did some number, but yeah, they have the ABCs part now. And I just went down, and now we're on. Actually, last month we finished all of the A2. Both of the boys have been a lockstep. I could be doing a group class. I do one-on-one with each of them, an hour a day, and it's like I should just be doing a group lesson because both of them are awesome and they're in lockstep with their lessons. Now we're getting into the intermediate lessons, and becoming a little more challenging for them, which is good though, because as well as using off the class, I also use YouTube. There's a lot, I have a lot of music. I love the Beatles, so I would have them listen to the Beatles songs and say, "Hey, for your homework today, you're going to watch this Beatles video with the lyrics, and I want you to, after every frame, I want you to just pause it and just make sure you read the words and understand the words, and then write me a letter telling me what you think this song is about."
That's really interesting.
And I'm trying to jumpstart their critical thinking skills in English, and it's actually been working really good. And of course, every student can be different, but with these students, it's good. Definitely have your rapport built with your students. Otherwise, in off class, they're just gonna be bored. I still use all the audio lessons and everything in off class, and sometimes I'll say, "Okay, guys, we're not doing one of the step-by-step curriculums today. Today, we're going to do vocabulary, or we're going to do gerunds. Just throw some grammar points at them."
That's okay. That's what actually leads me to one of my questions that I have for you. What are your thoughts on how important is it to you in the classroom? Because I know different teachers have different approaches to this.
Grammar, to me, grammar is the building blocks of the English language. It is important, I feel, for my students to understand and comprehend the grammar, but they don't need the lessons that I got in 8th grade from my advanced English teacher telling me how to dissect a sentence. They don't need all that. Is it important for them? Do they know what a noun, a pronoun, a subject pronoun, all those are? Yes, they do. Do I quiz them on it? No, not really. I just want them, as long as I know they comprehend, because sometimes, especially like take a noun, a person, place, thing, or idea. There's certain applications where it's inappropriate to put a noun in a spot, or it's more appropriate to use a noun in your speech, in your just normal conversation. And that's the skills that I want them to build upon. Johnny wants to be an engineer. He's doing freaking calculus and trigonometry at 17 years old. And I'm just like, yeah, I can't help you with that. But having a basic understanding of grammar is good. Having a few grammar lessons interspersed through all the other lessons is good. But I would not just pull up the grammar section and just go down the list lesson by lesson with grammar. I think that would be too much.
That's really good advice too for teachers, because sometimes, especially new teachers, they can get really focused in on the grammar, and which is important, but generally when you're teaching English, especially to older students, it's about communication, or any student really. It's about allowing them to gain skills to communicate, and grammar you do inherently start to pick up on naturally. And the more the teacher is able to incorporate using grammar structures within the class, not even having to sort of explicitly say memorize it, the more the students exposed to it, that it can be a really helpful way for them to actually retain the grammar, instead of saying let's memorize and conjugate these charts.
The biggest part of grammar that I kind of hammered into my students was the first letter of every sentence is always capitalized. Capitalization and punctuation are extremely important. You can have the same sentence, but if you put a comma here instead of here, it changes the entire meaning of the sentence. And that's the grammar points that I really dived into with them, not so much the structuring. Because like you said, as you learn to communicate better, you pick up naturally the structure and the sentence formation. I did work with them on how to properly format a paragraph and a sentence, and I would have them write me the letters. And so, yes, they would get off the class homework, but sometimes they wouldn't finish an entire lesson in 1 hour. So I would leave the class there, not assign them that homework, and I would give them other homework outside of off the class, like write me a letter, tell me about your city. And that not only helps them work on their sentence and paragraph formation and structures, but it also lets you learn about them and makes them think, which in my case is true, and hopefully for everybody it's true, that you care about them and where they live and what they are. Because the stronger your rapport is with your students, the more they're going to want to come back to you to keep learning. And the more they're going to trust you that you're going to teach them what they need to know.
That's a really good point, actually. And do you find correcting students useful, or in general, do you have specific thoughts on error correction, or how do you incorporate feedback into the classroom?
When I was a student, I liked to be corrected as soon as I made a mistake. That's just how I have to know the why of things. That's the way my brain works.
Got
Johnny doesn't like to be corrected as soon as he makes a mistake. He likes it when I underline it, using the off the class pen, and then we'll go back and go over his corrections. Henry is like me; he wants to be corrected right away. If he mispronounces a word, he wants to know it right away. I would say, talk to your student. How do you feel? With my boys now, the one time I correct both of them as soon as they make a mistake is with the S at the end of a word, like months instead of month.
Mhm.
I actually had to tell them after like the first week. I said, okay, every time you see an S at the end of a word, I want you to sound like a snake and overpronounce that bad boy. They're like,
Nice,
what do you
nice.
mean? Okay. The boy starts the race. And I did that whole facial thing with them too on the camera, and they
Yeah.
just loved it and ate it up. And I said,
Smart
that,
though.
yeah. And now, a year later almost, they are to the point where I don't even have to say, you missed an S or underline it. They just like months.
It's
Perfect.
stuck in there right from the
Yeah,
beginning.
talk with your students. You have to find out how they operate. And that was a big part of the problem when I was in school, is that there was no every kid learns differently. I
Mm-hmm.
was, by today's standards, I was developmentally challenged in school because I had ADHD, which we didn't know at the time. I went undiagnosed until I was 38 years old.
Yeah, a little later in life. Oh
Yeah.
no.
And there's some practices in today's, American education system that I strongly do not agree with. But I do agree with, especially in this kind of a situation where you're an online English teacher, talk to your students, build a rapport, find out how they work, and then mold your teaching style to them. And it's going to be different
That's
for every student that you have.
that's great advice. I think that's why you're one of our highest rated teachers to class, is because you do exactly that. You're able to essentially identify the needs of the student and cater toward them and communicate with them as an equal. I think sometimes we get it's easy to get stuck in this trap where you think, oh, I'm the teacher, I have to like have everything like in order, where you actually can, of course you have to be in order, but you gain so much information from the student. You know what I mean?
You do.
Like,
But actually,
they
if I
will
may
teach you.
interject, I'm sorry. I do have something on that topic to talk about. One of the things that I learned in getting my TEFL course,
Great.
limit teacher talk time, LTT.
LTT.
You are a teacher, not a lecturer. You're not up there to give a lecture. You're up there to guide the student, let them do the talking. I rarely talk. When I'm holding a lesson, I'll say, okay, read your instructions, which is the top part on off the class, fill in the sentences using if and what, whatever it is. I said, and then I'll just say, okay, start. Number 2, number 3. That's all my talking. They read everything. Everything that's on off the class in our lessons, they read it all themselves. They read it out loud. If I hear them start, they're reading in their head. So no, I can't hear you. I need to be able to hear you. Otherwise, I can't know if you're doing it right.
Mm-hmm.
So limiting teacher talk time. And there's my ADHD again. I had another point, but I just forgot what it was.
Hey, that's okay.
So the
It's
big one is
all
limiting
good.
teacher talk
I
time.
think
If you're
limited
just
teacher
talking
talk time is a
yeah,
huge
you have
point.
to give your students time to practice. Sometimes, especially consider, a 25-year-old new business, new somebody into the business field in China. They may only have that 1 hour or 45 minutes or however long your session is with you to practice their English.
Mm-hmm.
You're talking the entire time, they get zero practice. As a teacher, it's hard, but you have to condition yourself to stop talking and let them do it all.
That's really good advice, especially for people. I know when I started teaching about 4 years ago. I was very, very much concerned, like, how am I going to fill all this time talking, etc. But you have your first lesson with your 500th lesson. It's night and day,
It is.
completely. And it really, every lesson is so different. And I do you have any teaching highlights of 2021? I know it was a really hard year for many of us across the globe, but anything in particular stand out for you?
The fact that I got started in 2021 is astounding to me.
Awesome.
The progress that my boys made, um, I couldn't, and they're not related to me in any way. I'll never be, I'm not looking to marry their mom or anything like that. I am
No,
so
you just,
burnt with pride for these boys as if they were my own children.
yeah, no, like you ready
Um,
to bat for them. I get it. My students, like,
yeah.
I tutor some students locally here, and like, it's just seeing them grow over the years too. It's an amazing process. Like knowing them from when they're like 12 to 18 or
Mhm.
16. It's crazy how much changes and how much they evolve, and
Yeah. And
very
if you get
rewarding.
motivated with students, like Johnny loves practicing the nunchucks. I'm a huge Bruce Lee fan. So there's
Oh,
times
nice.
we don't use off the class for a lesson. I'll say, today we're gonna watch some Bruce Lee clips. We're gonna talk about that. And it doesn't have to be structured and just set in stone how you teach or what you teach. You can teach any way. John or Henry loves soccer. I love soccer. Unfortunately, he loves Manchester City. I love Manchester United. So we have a bit of a rivalry going on there. It doesn't always have to be okay. Today, take out your books and pen and paper. We're going to start
Yeah,
doing this. Just have fun, relax, communicate. I remember the other point.
love it.
Periodically, I would say at least once a month, once every 6 weeks, ask your students when they first start, especially for new teachers, ask your students what their goals, what they think their goals are to learn English. Why do you want to learn English?
Really
And then
good.
come
Yeah.
back after that initial assessment, asking them what they want. Come back 3, 4 months later and say, okay, this is what you wrote to me of why you want to learn English. How do you think we've progressed since then? Is there anything that I could do different? Is there anything else that you would like to study that I haven't been teaching you? That lets the student know that you're not doing this for their money, you're doing this for their education.
Mhm. That's
And that's what we
such
should do.
good advice.
Yeah.
I wish I would have known starting out because
Oh,
right away it shows that you're experienced, even if you aren't the most, even if you're new to teaching, and you have
yeah.
a great idea of what you need to do. And is that something you learned through getting your TEFL certification?
It
Strategies like
is.
the
The periodic, update checks, or I would have they taught us to have your student write out a goal. I want to learn English so that I can get into the engineering field. I need to be able to understand the technical words they're going to use in that industry.
smart?
6 months later, hey Johnny, how do you think we're doing with that? Do you think you're learning? You're still progressing towards that path, or maybe you decide you don't want to be an engineer anymore. Maybe you want to be an actor, and you need to learn that lingo instead. What can you
Mhm.
do so that you feel that you're getting a good education? Because that's the entire point of being a teacher, is to make sure that the student is learning and getting a good education.
That's great. It sounds like the off to class curriculum and content in general really complements what you've been like told and learned in this TEFL certification program.
Oh, 100%, 100%. I couldn't be happier with off class and how fortunate I was to find it so quickly.
Oh, that's amazing. I'm really actually glad. How did you find off to class? May I ask that actually?
I did a Google search, online English teaching platform or
Love it.
materials or how to do lesson plans. And maybe it was how to do lesson plans, and like one of Chris's videos popped up, and I was like, oh, okay, well, oh, he's from off class. Let me go check it out. And that's just, I fell into it.
Amazing. That's great though, because we want to give teachers as many resources as
Oh
possible to
yeah.
get started and to feel confident. So I'm really happy that that was the journey with you. And I'm just curious, do you have any favorite off to class or materials that you've encountered in the past year of teaching?
I really enjoyed the way that off class is interactive. There's no specific lessons, but just the interactivity of it, especially
Mm,
for younger learners like under 20, it gives
nice.
them something to do besides just reading the words on a screen. It has them, I have them fill in the blanks. I have them use their pen and draw lines, between matching these words up and which words go together, the body parts, this is hand, they draw a line to his hand. How interactive off class is awesome. If I could say that there's anything that off class could do more, is to find more ways to be more interactive. But honestly,
Great.
the way that it is now is perfect for me.
Amazing. That's really good to hear. And I think
I love it.
highlighting the fact that class isn't just a curriculum. It's got these interactive tools to enhance the content and curriculum that teachers have access to. And that's something I'm really thrilled you've been able to experience, especially early on in your teaching endeavors, because creating lessons plans individually is not usually the most feasible solution, especially if you're teaching 6 days a week like you said. So, or
6 days a week.
So that's a lot.
If I had to do my own lesson plans, I probably still wouldn't be teaching.
Okay, that's also something.
Now that I know how to do them, I don't ever want to do them.
Honestly, lesson creation is a whole other field of teaching.
I would love to, when I'm ready to retire full time, like Costa Rica. English teachers are in high demand in Costa Rica. I can go to a classroom there, and having the skills to be able to build lessons, it is great. But while I'm doing it online, no, off the class does that work for me.
You think the lessons have basically helped you understand how lessons should be structured in general if you're moving forward? That's good.
And, at the very beginning of every lesson in off class, and this is what I love too, and ITA was real big on this when we were doing our own lesson plans, you have to list the goals and objectives. By the end of this lesson, students will be able to, SWBAT, accomplish this achievable goal. Not, they're going to have better communication skills. No, they will understand what a noun is. They will understand why you put a period or a comma at the end of a sentence. Mm-hmm. And off the class has those aims and objectives in every single lesson. And I've actually been reading to my students, okay, guys, here's what we're going to learn today. Today, you see, it's about my family. Here's your lessons and objectives. By the end of this lesson, you're going to be able to tell me what a grandparent is, what an aunt or an uncle or a nephew or niece is. And they love it.
Great.
So it's really, once I found off class, I stopped looking at other platforms. I didn't even look for any more. And I never will.
Amazing. Again, well, you're one of the top.
I'm not just saying that right now, but that's honestly how I am with it. Off the class is just that wonderful of a tool that makes, especially for new teachers, gives you a lot of confidence because you don't have to come up with the material yourself. You don't have to use props like you see in some YouTube videos. Hi, everybody. You don't have to have that high level of energy 24/7. I mean, obviously, with 3-year-olds, yeah, you want to do that. But off class gives you all the materials. It's all there. And you don't have to do anything else. Just point them in the right direction and say, go.
Amazing. I can't wait till other teachers find us and have the same experience. And looking at your off to class t-shirt presenting, it looks incredible. I love it. I'm so thrilled that you're gaining the recognition for all of your wonderful work, and then you're able to share your strategies and your experience with other teachers, because it's incredibly useful. We're about at the end of our stream for today, but is there anything else you wanted to say or add?
I know that I haven't been very active in the off to class Facebook community lately, and I apologize for that. I'm actually in the process of moving, which we all know is not a fun process.
It's not. Don't be sorry, man.
Just tag me in Facebook Messenger or in the Facebook group, or just feel free to send me a direct message. I'll answer as soon as I see them. I'll answer to them. I'm still here. I'm just not actively participating right now.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much, Matthew. That's really kind of you to offer. And thank you for taking the time to meet me today. And
thanks for having me.
Oh, it's a pleasure. And you have a lovely day, okay?
Thank you as well. And to all you guys too. Bye.
Bye.